Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad to have you guys back for another video. This one is pretty overdue, but I wanted to kind of time it at the right time when people started studying for their Step 1 USMLE exam. And it's basically going to be me talking about my experience, things that went wrong as far as in my study habits and study schedule that just led to a lot of negative things being a part of my experience. I'm going to talk about some of the things I think I did well during this experience and just talk about how it affected me, because I feel like it's not talked about enough. Like, there's tons and tons of videos on here about how to study and how to get a 250 plus, but there's not enough videos talking about like the emotional aspect of Step 1 and how it affects some people. So I'm here to give you guys that aspect for the most part. So just a backstory. I'm currently a third year. I did not study or start studying early for my Step 1 USMLE exam. My original date, and I say original because as you will find out later, I did push my date a few times. But my original date was June 21st, I believe, 2019. I was so happy with that date originally. I did not start studying early, like I said before. I did not read first aid prior to dedicated. You know how a lot of people say go through first aid throughout your first and second year. I didn't do that. My school actually kind of recommended against that. They were like, focus on your studies and focus on like what you're learning in class and you'll be fine. Come Step 1, all you'll have to do is questions and review first aid, basically. And I trusted them. I mean, you guys have to realize I'm a first generation MD. I don't have any other medical physicians in my family, so I don't have anyone else to talk to really about Step 1 and basically when I should have started. And so I trusted like the people at my school and I went off of them, and not to shade them or anything, but I think that they definitely weren't thinking of all of their students as a whole when they gave that advice. So needless to say, I kind of laughed at the people that started studying for STEP, so using first aid and Anki at the beginning of second year. In the first year, I was like, why are you guys doing this now? Like, they said we don't have to start until, you know, at most like 10 weeks prior. Like, they were just making it seem like it was so doable. I thought that was okay to do. I thought it was okay to wait. So like I said, my original date was June 21st. I started studying, so started basically reading my first aid book at the kind of beginning of April. And I was going at my own pace, taking it nice and slow, because I figured that I still had a good amount of time and I wanted to make my first pass before May so I can spend all of June doing questions and just reviewing big concepts. I'm a very particular reader, and I take a while. So it took me like 3 weeks to get through biochem part of first aid. Working on biochem for my Step 1. Yeah, so I'm eating, and when I'm done eating, I think I'm just gonna look at some stuff, and that's it. I've gotten a pretty good way with my biochem and my first aid. I've been going pretty slowly, but that's because of biochem. You have a lot of pathways, and it's a lot of stopping to like understand the pathways and understand the drugs that inhibit certain areas of the pathway. So with that being said, I'm still proud of my progress. Although it's been a little slow, I feel like I'm really learning and understanding the material, so that's a good thing. What I'm doing right now is working on my biochem, and I've been doing really good. Last night I reviewed my flashcards that I made yesterday, which is really helpful to make sure I'm like reinforcing it like every day or every other day. So I'm adding to them today still, and I'll probably do them again tonight. I just do them on my phone before bed, so I'll probably do them again tonight. Hopefully make some more progress today because I'm going a little slow. Biochem, it's not that it's hard, it's just a lot of little details, and I find myself trying to memorize them now, but I have to tell myself that it's
it's going to take repetition, so I'm trying to just run my flashcards and understand it the best I can now, but realize that I'm not going to get it down perfectly. I'm confident. I'm still trying to keep my head in a positive space because we have a long way to go.
So by the time I was finished my biochem section, it was already May, and I was freaking out because I still had like 400 pages left of first aid to get through somehow before May. So the smart thing would have been to stop reading first aid and just do my questions, because mind you, at this point I'm not doing questions. It was my goal to finish my first pass in first aid before I looked at any questions. So our school gave us basically a free NBME practice exam just to see where we were, and I scored around 180 or so, little below passing. Passing is like a 194. And so everyone was telling me how great that was for the beginning, before, you know, to say that's before dedicated actually started. Everyone was like, that's a great score to start off with, like you're gonna shoot up, don't, no problems. A lot of people don't start off that high apparently. So I was kind of feeling good about myself. I was feeling good about myself in the sense that I felt like I was taking too long when it comes to getting through first aid. So that was a nice little pick-me-up when I did get that. Even though it wasn't passing, just the thought that so many people thought that was a good starting point. Fast forward, I get to like halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through first aid. And I take my first NDME exam on my own, so with my money, and I took that at the end of May. So this is 3 weeks, about 3 weeks post my first NBME that my school paid for, where I got like a 180, and I basically only scored a few points higher after 3 weeks of studying, and that devastated me, y'all.
Like, this sucks. It sucks to work so hard and then take a practice test or practice questions and feel like you're not moving. That sucks. To wake up like 6 a.m. every morning, and go to bed for 12 or 1, whatever, and feel like you still didn't reach daily goals. I'm just tired, y'all, and I feel so pathetic. The people close to me have started noticing it. Like, if y'all either know me or you watch my other videos, you know that I'm like a very like happy spirited person, wants to make everybody happy, wants to smile, wants to laugh. And like lately it's been like me trying to do that and me trying to be that for everyone, but at the same time, like, I get drained and I like shut down, and a lot of people around me have noticed that, and I feel bad because I don't know.
And it sucked. Like, it sucked to spend so much time studying something and waking up and going to bed with flashcards in my hand and doing that every day for 3 weeks, 3 more weeks, and not seeing any progress. That really sent me like in a downward spiral, and I just wasn't okay. And I think that's really where the downfall of my journey started. So while most people will see that and just like that amps them up, that tore me apart. Like, that just tore me apart, and I honestly like almost didn't want to continue, because I'm like, I'm working so hard. Like, this is how I've always studied. I've always done great on my test in med school. I've never had any problems there. Like, what am I doing wrong? I just didn't get it. And basically what I was doing wrong is I was just reading a book. I wasn't testing my knowledge using questions. I still hadn't started my questions. Yeah, silly. So I basically, after that one, like I said, I freaked out a little bit. I went to see my advisor. Cried. Cried so much. Basically cried and said, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And she basically told me, you need to do questions. Like, you need to stop reading first aid, do questions. Like, you need to test your knowledge and see how they want you to know this stuff. Like, you won't know how they want you to know until you start testing yourself. Fast forward, I finally made it through first aid, or almost through, whatever. I started kind of skipping around after I noticed I was taking way too long. It's about mid-June at this point. I take another NVMe. My score moves, but it's like right above passing, y'all. It's like right above passing. And like, again, devastated. I was, again, 3 weeks out from the last test, and I only went up about 10 points. So I just kept being devastated, and I felt like I felt dumb. I just felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. Like, I felt like all of that was a sign. Mind you, I do have like underlying depression. I know how to deal with my depression on a regular basis, but with this test, I probably should have been having some counseling. I probably should have been on some type of antidepressant or something, because honestly, like, step 1 is depressing in itself, and to have underlying depression with, like, while doing step 1, that you're not really getting treatment for, you're not talking to anyone about, that makes it so much harder. So I was starting to vlog, but honestly, guys, like, I stopped vlogging by like mid-June because it got too much. It got to be too much for me. Well, technically I was passing, but like barely. I had studied for like a month and a half at that point, and I just felt like I had nothing to show for it. Like, before you guys say anything, I wasn't playing around. Like, I was honestly waking up at like 7 o'clock every morning, going to bed way too late. And I was doing that back to back to back to back. And don't get me wrong, every now and again I would take days off. I'm honestly so thankful to my family and friends that were there for me throughout this process, because I was a jerk sometimes due to the stress. I didn't want to talk a lot of days. I would just study and cry and study and cry. And y'all, it was such an awful experience. I was losing weight. I lost like 7 or 8 pounds in a matter of weeks without trying. Like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind if I was trying, but the fact that I wasn't working out, I wasn't necessarily eating healthy, I just, 1, wasn't eating, and like 2, I guess just a large amount of stress just was overtaking me and causing me to lose weight. I was just going through a lot, y'all. My health was suffering. I wear a Fitbit basically daily, and my heart rate wasn't below 100 for weeks. Waking up in the morning with a heart rate of 110, just at baseline. It was way too much stress for me. I ended up going to the doctor about it, and it was, like I said, underlying anxiety and depression. So most medications, as you guys may know, take a while to set in. So it's not like I could have gotten on it, something for anxiety or depression right then, and it would have worked like then and there. So she gave me hydralazine, which is for anxiety. Well, can be used for anxiety. It can also be used for allergies. Is a very I guess you could say diverse medication. Its purpose is for allergies. It's an antihistamine, I believe, but it helps with like calming you down with those feelings of anxiety and heart, like your tachycardia. It helps like control that. So that helped me, because I didn't necessarily have test anxiety. I had just anxiety about all of it. Like, I had anxiety about waking up and studying. I had anxiety just at the fact that I had to do the same thing every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was just taking a toll on me mentally. And with that being said, man, my number 1 piece of advice is to make sure you're mentally okay before starting this process. I wish I would have reached out again to someone regarding my mental health, whether it be a counselor, a therapist, someone that could have helped me out in that way. Feeling so useless and feeling Like nothing I was doing was working, and just never feeling that low in my whole life. Like my whole life, the one thing I could do right was study and make a good grade. Like that was like my thing, you know, and I feel like I had that taken away from me. Everyone I talked to made it seem like it was so easy, as far as when I talked to my advisor and when I talked to others, like just study, just get it done. And I understand, yes, you just have to get it done, but it was so hard, y'all. It was so hard to drag myself and wake myself up every morning feeling like my score wasn't gonna move. July 6th, I pushed my test back to the 6th, so from the 21st to the 6th. And I got to the week before that exam, and I still wasn't really budging. I still was like just above passing, not where I wanted to be as far as my score, and not like I wanted to be well above passing before I took this test. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be sure that I was going to at least pass. I didn't want to be right there, because I feel like that's not me being sure that I'm going to pass. So I didn't feel comfortable. So I ended up calling it a day, and I pushed my test back again. And honestly, part of the reason I pushed it back again was because I was moving on the 31st. I had to move apartments because I got a roommate in July. To a bigger apartment, and so I was moving. A lot was going on in my life, and I just felt like this wasn't a good time for me to take the test if like I wasn't confident in what I was scoring on my NBMEs, and I had all of this other stuff going on. So I pushed my test back once again. And after I settled in, once I moved, I think I was settled in by the 2nd. I left and I went to New Orleans. I went home, and when I pushed my test back that time, I pushed it and I changed the location to be in New Orleans, because I felt like I just wanted to be around family. I wanted to be around people that supported me no matter what, that could care less what I was scoring. And I just wanted, like, I don't know, I just wanted the love. Like I needed the love, man. Okay. And honestly, y'all, like I was at this point, the thing I was doing right was I was just doing questions exclusively for Get First Aid, and I was doing flashcards on my questions. So I made my own flashcards based on what questions I was getting wrong, like continuously, and then I would do flashcards at night, questions in the morning. But I was once I got home, y'all, and I had family around, I was giving myself breaks all the time, like probably more than I should have. And because of that, I was like so frightened about like what I was like, oh my gosh, my score is really gonna tank now. If I was studying so much more in Rochester, or so much more back home, and now I'm not studying as much, and you know, I just felt like my score was either going to be worse or just again unchanged. And so I went to take a practice test on, I want to say it was on the 12th of July. And that was my first practice test since being in New Orleans. So I was in New Orleans for over a week, and I hadn't touched the practice test. I had just, like I said, been doing questions every now and again and doing my flashcards. And my score jumped, y'all. It jumped. Oh, I get emotional when I think about this. But it jumped. I'm not going to say about how much, but it was a nice jump. It was a jump to where I felt comfortable taking that test. In, 5 days? Because I think I had 5 days before I had to take it when I took that practice test. And I just knew I was going to have to push it back again, because I had gotten so used to pushing my test back to where it was like nothing to me. I was like, I'm probably going to have to push it back. I'll probably take a year out. There was so many things going through my head, because I just, at that point, I didn't believe in myself. I had lost my confidence in May. Like, I went through all of step 1 studying feeling like I couldn't do it. Like, feeling like I wasn't capable. And so to see my score jump, man, that just let me know, at least for me, an important part, I think, of my success with step 1 was being around my family and being around people that cared about me, and not isolating myself. Because isolating myself and crying in my sheets every night obviously wasn't helping me. But as soon as I get around family for less than 14 days, my score jumped. So I say that to say, like, at the end it ended up being okay. I didn't do phenomenal. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I got a 250, but I didn't. No. But am I interested in surgery? No. And I wasn't interested in surgery even before Step, so it's not because of Step. But I'm not interested in any surgical specialties that will require me to have a super high score. My score is still pretty decent, and it's good enough for what I want, the areas I'm interested in as of now. I feel like I'll be okay. And yeah, so it's really not necessarily about the score. It's really to me, at least if you're a first generation medical student, and you don't really have anyone in your family that's been through med school, my number one advice is to make sure you're okay mentally, because that's where myself, a few of my other friends, I feel like we fell short. Because yeah, Step is hard, yeah, studying is hard, but I think it's the mindset that you need to have. It's nothing like home, and it's nothing like being around all of your family that loves you during a time like this. And I know people may say, oh, that's a distraction. And yes, like I said, I went to Essence Festival. I celebrated the 4th of July. I did all of that with my family in New Orleans. And I still, like, somehow my score still jumped. Like, it jumped. I believe it jumped more than it would have had I stayed in Rochester and finished out my studying. And that's just because of how much relief my family brought to me. I noticed when I got to New Orleans, I didn't have to take the hydralazine every day. I was taking it every day here and still feeling like this low level anxiety. I just felt so much more relief, like being with my best friends, being with my family. It was a better time for me. Step is rough, man. And people don't talk about it, but it takes a toll on you. It tests you. It tests your emotional strength, your mental strength, man. Just remember that you can do this, man. And especially for people that are minority in medicine, it's already hard enough as far as with imposter syndrome and just feeling like you don't necessarily belong just because you don't see many people like you. That's hard enough, but like with something like this, I just felt like everybody was doing so great. Like, I felt like so many of my classmates weren't pushing their date, and if they were, like, they weren't pushing it back as far as me, and they sure didn't look like they were crying every day. Like, and obviously you don't know people, and you don't know what people are going through behind closed doors, because I'm sure a lot of you that are watching this and knew me didn't think I was going through what I was going through. Take care of yourself. You can't do this without taking care of yourself. You can't do this without making sure you're good in the head. I had some awful thoughts. I was just not in a good place that entire time. So talk to someone, y'all. Like Step it's hard. Just the repetitiveness, the nature of it is just hard. Like, it's not like anything you've ever done before, but it's doable. It's just you have to equip yourself with the right tools. And I'm not just talking about question banks and first aid and all of that. Like, you need people on your side, and you need people that are going to lift you up, positive people. You don't need any negativity in your world during that time. Yeah, like that's basically it, y'all. I honestly just wanted to get my story out and just let you guys know just how hard that was on my mental health. And to let you know it's okay, and it is normal to feel like that. And I felt like I just needed people to tell me that it was normal, because I felt so alone, like feeling like that a lot of the time. I cried every day, y'all. And don't worry about me. I'm just getting emotional thinking about what all I was going through. But I just needed somebody to tell me it was normal, and it's normal to feel that way. But you need to reach out, and you need to get help, and you need to like recognize your limits, like, and act accordingly. Like, being strong, overly strong, and suppressing your emotions isn't going to help anyone, and it's for sure not going to help you. So be truly strong and get help. guys, talk to someone, reach out to others that went through it before you. That's what I did. I reached out a lot to people in higher upper classes than me, so third and fourth years. I reached out to them, cried to them on the phone so many times. Thank you to you guys, all of y'all. Y'all know who y'all are, and I like thank y'all so much. But yeah, like, step one is doable. Once you do it, third year is great. So just, y'all, just get it done. Realize that you can do this. I believe in you. If you need to talk to me, email me. If you know me personally, text me. Like, I'm here, because I know, like, I know how it can be. And like I said, I can make another video addressing other like formalities of STEP and what to expect, and what resources I would suggest now looking back. I can make another video like that, but I just kind of wanted to keep this one raw and real with y'all, and just let y'all know how I was, and give y'all the real before y'all go into this journey. So definitely evaluate yourself. Think about what will be beneficial to you before you start, and do what you need to do. You guys got this. So as always, thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry this was a video a little bit more on a sadder note, but I hope you guys still enjoyed. I always enjoy talking to you guys. So I'll see you in my next video. Please leave in the comments down below what you guys would like to see, and I will for sure do that for you. Peace, love. Bye, guys.